Hello, I'm Harold Cottle, Director of Facilities of the Methodist Community Church of Los Altos, better known to most of us as Los Altos United Methodist Church. In the early 50s, there were not a lot of churches in this area, so a few members from the Union Church of Los Altos and other community members decided that they needed another church in this area, a Methodist church. The group of community members, who would later be known as the founding members of this church, wanted to build a church that would, above all else, dedicate itself to the service of this community. This founding group, along with the Reverend John R. Wilkins, located property that was bounded on the south by a small road, Magdalena Avenue, and on the west and north by Hale Creek, and on the east by the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks, now Foothill Boulevard. This property was 6 1/2 acres, covered with valley oak and live oak, and was purchased for $3,000 per acre. Title to the property was transferred to the new church at a ceremony on the site at 5 p.m. on June 11, 1950. A little less than a month after the Charter Day celebration, the first regular church service was held on a platform overlooking Hale Creek, very close to where this current deck is located. An area on the property was fenced in to care for small children during Sunday school. The Sunday school began with 35 children, with each class having its own oak tree as a meeting place. Once winter arrived, the services were moved from the platform overlooking Hale Creek to the Los Altos Theater, and there they met until the first building was completed. A groundbreaking service for the first unit was held on Thanksgiving Day in 1950. The first unit would serve as the social hall and general meeting hall. Approximately 3,200 hours of volunteer labor went into the construction of the social hall, which, because of the volunteer labor, cost only $17,300. Construction of the building using so much volunteer labor aroused nationwide interest, with requests for the story coming from as far as New York from the church press. The new building was consecrated on May 13, 1951. The parsonage would be the second unit to be built, with groundbreaking on September 10, 1951. The minister and family moved into the parsonage on December 20th, 1951, only 13 weeks after the groundbreaking ceremony. As the membership grew, a master plan was needed and developed in the fall of 1953 and early 1954. Construction of the preschool unit, or first Sunday school unit, was completed in 1955. Other units planned called for a sanctuary, more classrooms, a youth chapel, a youth activity center, and an amphitheater for outdoor services and religious drama. The next unit to be built from this master plan was the sanctuary unit with its adjoining wings. A contract for $196,000 was awarded to build these 3 buildings, including the sanctuary. 8 months after initial construction started, the unit was complete. The first service was held on October 26, 1958, and was consecrated on November 23rd of that year. The cross that currently hangs in the sanctuary was placed there as a beacon during the day and especially at night to the travelers passing by, originally on the Southern Pacific train, and continues to be a beacon to this day to the many cars and cyclists who pass on Foothill. During the early 60s, other units were completed, which included additional classrooms, Sunday school office, and an activity room or fireside room, now known as the youth room. These units were completed in 1963. As the church grew, over the next 20 years, more space was needed to house the growing staff, and a new social hall or multi-purpose building was needed to serve the growing congregation. The original social hall was getting old, and the size could not meet the purposes that it was intended for. In the mid-'80s, a new building campaign was initiated to construct a multi-purpose building and a central office for the growing staff. Creekside and the offices were completed in 1987. Creekside is the most heavily used building on campus, as it is used almost every day of the year for every kind of activity. In the late 90s, another building campaign was initiated to construct a new Sunday school building, a new choir room and meeting room, and to add an addition onto the existing sanctuary for a bride's room and larger narthex. This addition was known as the Garden Complex. The new education building was also to be utilized as a new preschool for the community. Completion of the new education building, what we refer to as the Children's Center, and the Garden Complex was completed in 1998. As the pages of history have yet to be written for the next 50 years, I leave you with the dream of the founding members of this church community. That dream was to build a church that would dedicate itself to serving the community, make available to the community a center for spiritual, social, civic, and youth needs, and to grow with its community.